to the Street Pianist, a celebration of all the wonderful musicians who play street piano, even when nobody's listening.
Hello.
You all right?
So I am here with Extremely Sloppy Productions, which I'm not going to keep saying that all the way through. I'm going to shorten it to ESP. But I met this young guy yesterday when I was here at Piccadilly Station, and I was looking at the piano that was put here by The Piano, the TV show. And I saw this young man play, and I was very impressed. And I'm not even going to try to describe what I heard, because I'm going to get him to describe it for us. And I've just recorded him just now playing something. So tell us what that was.
The song that you would have just heard would be a cover of a song called Front Street by Will Wood and the Tapeworms, one of my favourite bands, spearheaded by one of my favourite singers, Will Wood. It's swing, ragtime-ish, but it's also got some rock elements in it as well.
Yeah, I noticed it was quite a mix, which I really like. I like when you've got multiple genres going on. Also,
Yeah.
That's a great name, the Tapeworms.
Yeah, obviously piano isn't going to do the song very much justice, especially with the percussion, but yeah.
Do you have a preference for a genre?
No, if I will go over to the piano, I'll go do-do-do-do-do, and then a music will come out, and I find it's often good. As opposed to like preference for listening genres rather than playing or writing, yeah, my taste in music is rather eclectic, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and so I'm interested because you said that the song that you were playing is a song that's already been written by somebody else.
Yes.
But I think when I met you yesterday, you said something about how you like to create your own arrangements. So you don't play it straight exactly how it was by the original.
No, yeah,
artist.
and even that arrangement that I just played at Front Street, that was by ear. Yeah.
And while you were playing it, there was a whole load of interesting stuff going on. You were moving around the piano. There was a bit of stuff at the top end. There was a bit of stuff at the bottom.
Yeah.
How do you decide what to do next?
If it's cool, I'll do it. If it's funny, if I just decide, oh, it might be good to add some it might be good to add some harmonies over here, often to juxtapose a very low frequency in the left hand with like the sharp tones of the highest octaves you would have heard earlier. I find that can often go well.
Yeah. And have you ever had piano lessons?
I had them weekly for about a month a couple of years ago, and then the piano teacher actually resigned from teaching me because apparently I was improving at too rapid a rate for him to properly teach me. His words, not mine.
Okay.
And that's probably the biggest flex I actually have.
That's pretty
to the
cool.
piano.
Yeah, and so it's interesting because the reason I asked that was because I noticed that you've got some of the stuff you do is obviously jazzy. There's obviously things in there that you might recognise from other forms of music. So I wondered if you have deliberately learned particular ways of playing or if you've just picked it up.
It was a couple of years ago, and as we all know what happened a couple of years ago, the entire world had a big closed sign on it, and I was really bored one day.
Yeah.
And so I started learning piano, and now I'm here.
So it's only been a couple of years that you've been playing?
And now I wouldn't know because what I thought was 1 year ago is now 4.
Yes, so we are now in 2024, and
Yeah.
of course it was 2020 that the first lockdown happened.
Yeah.
And was that when it was that you started playing?
I think it was, 2020, 2021.
Yeah, yeah. But that's still not a very long time, particularly not
No.
to an old person like me. It might seem a bit longer to you, but it's
It
not a
doesn't
very long
really.
time. Yeah. So you said that, so lockdown happened, as we all know. You decided to start playing piano. Did you have a piano in the house?
I had this when I was about maybe 6 years old. I got a tiny little shitty keyboard for my birthday, and I had not used it up until then. I just decided, oh yeah, this thing exists, and I started playing it.
Was it one of those ones that hasn't got very many octaves?
No.
How many octaves does it have?
About 4.
Right. And are you still playing that one, or did you manage
Oh,
to get a better
absolutely
one?
not. That's awful. Yes, I did get a better one. It's got 88 weighted keys. It's got a pedal and everything. It's beautiful. I love it.
Oh, that's good. So how long did it take before you were like, hang on, this is not good enough, I need something better?
A short while, I'd say. Maybe quite a few months, maybe like a year. I don't remember exactly.
And was did you ask for one, or did your parents
Yes,
kind
I
of
did.
spot
I did
that
ask
you
for
needed
one.
something better?
I asked
Yeah.
for one, yes.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
this one now.
Yeah.
This one I got was about like a few days ago.
Oh, so you've got a brand new one really recently?
Yeah.
Ah. Okay, so obviously this is a podcast about street pianists, and
Yes.
that's how I found you, because you were playing street pianos. How often do you play street piano?
Whenever I'm here, if there's a piano anywhere, I'll just play it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Most of what I do is in my bedroom. I will either go over to my piano, play a few notes until I find a good set of chords or whatever, then transpose it to my laptop where I use this program called FL Studio. But most often I will just crack open FL Studio, just write down a song, and then I will, end result, after a few hours, maybe days, you'll hear a song, something like this. It's really strange because most of my good songs, I have this album coming out later called ESP's Radio Rodeo, and I have this thing where I'll say, oh yeah, I'm a musician, but then I remembered the songs I've made outside of this album were like a few years ago, and even like with this album a few years ago, so I'm like really awful from what people can actually hear, because this album's all still in production. If you were to go onto my YouTube channel or my SoundCloud or whatever, you'd just find garbage, because all my good stuff is not public. And so it's strange when I just say, oh yeah, I'm a musician. What is this? And I'm like, wait, hold on.
There's something better coming. It's in
Yes.
production, yeah. So you said that like you might start on the piano and then you might go over to the laptop.
Yeah.
And you talked about songs. So do your songs have lyrics?
I write mostly instrumental music. I've never written a lyrical song yet. I have songs that I plan to have lyrics for, but I'm really lazy and will often procrastinate making lyrics. But I'll bust out a few notes if I'm in the shower, home alone.
So when you said that you might be on the keyboard or you might be on the laptop,
Yeah.
do you have a MIDI input or something where you can record the keyboard directly into the recording software, or do you sequence it?
I sequence it. I think the new keyboard that I have has got a MIDI input, but I've not used it.
So you're transferring, and then are you making electronic music? You're making backing tracks?
Yeah, I make a lot of electronica with, again, a lot of different genres. You said about how I play a lot of different genres. I make more genres. It can be intense and dark. It can be lo-fi. It can be quasi-classical. It can be, it can be.
So this album that you're making,
Yeah.
has it got any live piano music on, or is it all electronic?
It's going to be all electronic, but there is this secret sister project that I'm working on for it as well, and that will have live music, yes.
Right.
And I will not elaborate more.
Can I ask you questions that are sideways? Like, for instance,
yeah,
are you going to go
absolutely.
into a recording studio, or how are you thinking, if it has live music on it, how are you thinking you'll record it?
It is just me at the keyboard.
Fantastic. Oh, that's exciting.
There's another album which I'm working on. I'm very bad at planning.
Do you start lots of things and then not quite manage to finish them?
Oh, absolutely.
I do that.
But honestly, it's just this sister project that's holding up the production of the first album. As soon as I just do that, get the music videos done, then record vocals, it's good. I can just move on. And I've actually written a few more tracks for this other album, and that is going to have a live track. I'm thinking of just going out and doing a gig, and then that song will be played live. And the only recording will be played live, and that song is going to be called I Am Not Looking Respectfully, in fact I Am Drooling Violently. With all my songs I come up with the titles first, often very stupid titles like that.
Say it again, you're not...
I'm not looking respectfully, in fact I'm drooling violently. It's just a meme that blew up 3 years ago, and I just thought it was funny. Not 3 years ago. Is it 3 years ago? God,
no,
I'm
I'm
losing
old
touch with
and I
time.
don't keep up with memes. So was that a meme then that I'm just completely unaware of?
Oh, saw it on Twitter once. It wasn't like a proper viral thing.
Yeah. You just like the idea.
I like
and
the idea of
language.
writing joke songs with really stupid titles.
Okay.
Like, I think that's going to have a sample at the start with, and I'm very sorry for being crude, but the sample at the start is just a guy going, fucking encrusted testicle, my boy, you look like a... And then it's going to play the song.
So So you talked about vocals. You said you're going to record vocals. Is that going
Yeah.
to be you doing the vocals?
Yes, it is.
And is it going to be singing, speaking, mixture?
With this new track that or new album that I'm thinking of, the new album is going to be called Dark Side of the Tune, and which I thought was quite funny as well.
That is a good title. I
Yeah.
like that title.
And it's got 2 songs in it, which are 2 of my favourite songs that I've written. And I've just written instrumentals for now, but I'm thinking of, at least in the planning stages, I'm going to add more sort of spoken word-esque rhyming vocals on top of them,
Yeah.
with a telephone effect.
Going back to street pianos,
Yeah.
are you one of those people that if you're in public and you see a piano, then you just want to play it?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And do you know why that is? Do you know what you're trying to get out? Do you want an audience, for instance? Do you just want to play a piano because there's a piano? Or
I find playing the piano fun anyway, but often an audience can make that worse. Like when you came over to me earlier, and then like how 20 people just gathered around and started recording me, and I'm like, okay, this is going to make my playing worse now. It's like the self-fulfilling prophecy of, or also like anti-self-fulfilling prophecy of, I think this guy's good, I'm going to record him, which makes it worse.
yeah, I know exactly what you mean,
Yeah.
and I like the idea of the anti-self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it happens to me as well. Similar thing happens if anybody ever points a camera at me. I suddenly don't know what to do with my face.
If I record with this sister project, I'm recording myself at the keyboard, and I can play the song fine usually, but it takes 30 takes to get, not even a decent take, to get an awful take. And I think that's slightly to do with...
You know that there's recording equipment there, so the pressure is on.
Not really. I don't know. It's like whenever I would record video games, but I think it would make it worse anyways.
When I'm playing piano at home, so our piano's in our bedroom, and I'll be playing really well, and then my husband will walk in just because he needs to get something from the room, and suddenly I can't play anymore, and like it all just completely falls apart. And he's not even trying to be an audience, but just that the fact that there's somebody there can make it all fall apart for me.
See, that's the difference. And if I'm playing and my dad will walk in, oh, you need to do your laundry, and then I'll play louder to drown him out.
Like when you've played street pianos in the past, have you found that audiences have gathered, have people noticed and paid attention?
Yeah, they're just, because I think just seeing someone playing the piano is just cool.
Yeah.
And so they will just start recording or just gawk.
Yeah. And do you quite like that, having an audience?
It doesn't make too big of a difference, honestly.
Yeah. So really, it's just that there's a piano there.
Yeah.
And you want to play it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Do you find yourself? So let's say, for instance, let me think of an example. Let's say you went out for a meal, and there was
Yeah.
a piano in the venue, like in the corner of a restaurant.
Yeah.
What would your reaction be to that?
Where am I having the meal?
Where are you having a meal? It's a small Italian restaurant. It's not particularly fancy. It's like just a little kind of, there's a few families in there.
Okay, I would first absolutely decimate a pizza. Then I would go over to the piano and play one of the 3 songs I know.
And would you find yourself, because I guess this is a leading question, but
Yeah.
what I'm wondering is, would you find yourself distracted by the presence of a piano? You'd know it was there and you'd be like, but I want to play it.
Absolutely. When we have like large school assemblies, they often get the bands at the front, like the brass section, school orchestra or whatever. I never joined a school orchestra. I did for a bit, and then I just stopped because it wasn't my style. I'd just be like, I really want to play that piano over there at the front of like 30 meters away in a hall. I want to play it.
Yeah. And have you played at school at all? Have you been to any school concerts or anything?
Yeah, I did battle the bands every time when I have been able to.
Yeah.
Last year, and I guess this has a bit of a story to it, so
Okay.
I guess slight trigger warning for violence. I was just out for a walk where, long story short, I think I met the wrong kind of people and I got beaten the hell out of. And one of the side effects of that, not a side effect, one of the results of that,
Yeah.
which was my wrist was messed up.
no.
It wasn't broken, it was just messed up.
Yeah.
And I remembered in that time, it was about 5 days later, there was Battle of the Bands on, and I mainly play piano, I dabble in drums and bass.
Slight aside, are you a
Yeah.
solo act in Battle of the Bands? Is it you and the piano, or are you with other people?
The year before, I guess I have to say, my friends joined in and they didn't receive as high praise as I did from the judges. But I think with a lot of the piano rooms, or a lot of the music rooms in school, there's a piano there and there's going to be like a wooden frog that you to the beat
Yeah.
and there's nothing else.
Right. So it's a bit difficult to put a decent band together in those circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, just guitar
It's a
or
bit ad
bass.
hoc, Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was you on your piano, one
yeah.
of your friends on frog.
So he was on a ukulele, and
Okay.
my other friend, there was three. I was on piano, friend was on a ukulele, other one was playing the snare drum on a
Right.
whole drum set. It was just the snare drum.
Yeah.
Anyway, on this last Battle of the Bands thing, I got beaten the hell out of. My wrist was messed up, and I mentioned earlier how I like to procrastinate a lot. So I made no use of the 5 days I had. On the day, the Battle of the Bands,
Yeah.
in the half an hour I had, I went into one of the piano rooms and wrote I think it was like the original version was like 6 minutes long of a piano with only my right hand.
God.
Then I went out later, I played it for Battle of the Bands. Everyone described it how like the room went silent, there was a massive
Wow.
atmosphere.
Yeah.
I got an honourable mention and a tenner. So,
But it sounds like when you said when you're at home, you quite often you just sit down at the piano and see what comes out. So
Yeah.
you improvise basically. You know how to make stuff up on the spot.
sometimes. I often, if I do like a cover, I'll just look up a piano tutorial and just often get bored and then figure out the rest by ear.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll just, look up a piano tutorial and
So there's a small element of planning, like this piece that you said you wrote for
Yeah.
Battle of the Bands. You didn't have long, so you did write it. It wasn't
Yeah.
like purely improvised, but you wrote it very quickly. So it's like very close to improvisation. You came up with something very quickly, and then
yeah.
and
I'd said it was improvised at the time.
Yeah.
And then I remembered it.
and when you played
remembered.
it at the actual performance,
Yeah.
do you think you played the same thing that you'd written earlier, or did you change it a bit in the moment?
Wasn't as long. It's about
Yeah.
3 minutes, which was
Right.
very good for the audience and me. But yeah, I think it was decent enough to warrant a tenner and a placement of my new album, ESP's Radio, coming out on, I don't know, 10 years from now.
I'm really sorry to hear about you getting beaten up, though. That's absolutely stinks.
No, it's fine. I won about 30% of any musician's total net worth in that moment.
No, I don't quite follow. Explain. Because
How do you make a musician's car more aerodynamic?
I don't know. How
You
do
remove the pizza sign from off the top.
Oh, I get it. Because you've got a tenor, effectively. Yeah, okay, I understand now. So how does playing piano make you feel?
Bad for messing up. I will often just sit down and if I have a song stuck in my head, I'll just is the very technical term for play the piano.
Yeah,
Diddle-a.
that's how we say playing the piano. We
Yeah.
diddle-a. Yes.
Yeah, this is a podcast, so obviously the audience can't see this, but I think it is crucial information to know that I did a spidery hand motion through the air when I said
Did
that.
do a spidery hand motion through the air, and I hope you won't mind me mentioning that you got rather nice nail varnish on as well.
Oh wow, thank you.
I noticed that when you're playing, obviously, because hands are very noticeable when people are playing
Yes.
pianos. So you've got great nail varnish. You've got some really nice. I don't
Thanks.
know what to call them.
Bracelets?
Bracelets. Yeah, bracelets. And what was the other word? There was another word that was in my head that can't think. Bangles, but they're not bangles because they're stretchy, so they are bracelets. You like to play piano, but you said that you don't feel good when you mess up. How
That
much-
was
that
more of a
was that
joke than a...
So it
yeah.
doesn't bother you too
It's
much.
more of a, oh, I messed up. Let's
Yeah.
start again. Or, oh, I messed up. Let's continue then. Oh, God! Which admittedly is how it feels when I mess up and there's a crowd.
But you do keep going though. I know.
Or when I mess up and I'm filming. But yes, I do keep going.
Because that's something that a lot of people find hard, and it's actually one of the things you have to learn if you're going to perform in public.
Yeah.
And I'm not great at it, to be honest. Is when you make a mistake, just pretend you didn't. Just act like that was always supposed to
Yeah.
happen and keep going. Because if you stop and correct it, then you make it really obvious, and you also break the flow. But I always want to stop and correct
Yeah.
it. But it doesn't bother you too much. You're like,
No, not really.
I think the fact that you have the confidence to play street pianos shows that you've got a certain level of confidence when it comes to performing.
Or a certain level of obliviousness where I'm just like, okay, I'm playing the piano because it's fun, not necessarily because there's people around.
And before you played piano, so because you obviously have got a good ear, so did you, and you've already said that you make electronic music as well. So were you
Yeah.
making the electronic music before you started playing the piano, or doing anything other music?
I'm so sorry, I just lost my train of thought looking at
There's
that
a
pigeon.
pigeon,
Yeah, there's a
yes.
pigeon about a
There's
metre
a
away
pigeon
from us.
that's doing that darty thing with its head.
Yeah, I don't know
They
why
always
they
look
do
like
that.
they're dancing.
So I wrote this song on the computer, and it was about a minute long, and it was bad. And I went to go and remake it for this first album I'm doing to update my current musical stylings, current in massive air quotes, because I've been working on this album for 4 years now, and it takes me about 3 days to make a song. Not 4 years, not Jesus Christ. I massively overestimate.
Wait a minute though, not necessarily, because I started that question with, did you make music before you learnt the piano? We've already established that you started learning the piano during lockdown, which is 4 years ago.
Yeah, sorry, that was a massive slip of the tongue. I've been working on this for a year and a half.
Right.
And the first song I ever wrote, it honestly wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but it was still, don't get me wrong, it's still not great.
But were you doing any musical things before you started learning the piano?
Nope. Just, I was really bored one day.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. And did you have much interest in music?
No.
No, it just happened.
I was bored.
How interesting.
I was bored. It was a Thursday. Don't know if it was a Thursday.
Did you like to listen to music? Did you have like bands that you listened to and stuff?
No, not to my recollection.
How interesting. So everything's fed. So the piano was the start. That was the first musical thing that you did.
My crappy little Yamaha keyboard from 10 years ago was the start.
And do you think that led to you listening to more music as well, the fact that you were making music?
I think as I played it, I definitely got into music and definitely started listening to some. One of the first bands that I became like a proper fan of was a band called Tally Hall, and they've had a bit of a resurgence in recent years.
How do you spell that? I haven't heard of them.
Tallyhall.
Okay.
And they blew up on TikTok, and every time I tried to have my friends listen to one of their songs, they would always just say, oh yeah, I know this song, it's the song from TikTok, which I would probably excommunicate them and kick them out of my house. But as for more recent listenings, even inspirations, I quite like, again, as we mentioned earlier, a band called Will Wood, who is now on indefinite hiatus actually. And I quite like this guy called Joji, or to use his prior online alias, Filthy Frank, which I take a lot of inspiration from as well.
How are we spelling Joji?
Joji.
And how do the kids at school react? Do they think it's really cool that you can play piano?
My friends, I wrote a song called Sample This about a few months ago, and it was because one of my friends texted to the group chat like a compilation of some guy doing like an a cappella thing with only his voice and maybe his mates, and he just said, yeah, we need to do something like this. And yeah, you're the music guy, can you put it together? And so I asked them to all...
That's your job.
Yeah, I asked them to all send me different voice clips. I imagine them to be like softer tones. If you want, I can edit some in now if you send me this recording.
Yeah.
And I did this thing where I turned him into a synth, which you can hear about a 20-second clip of now.
Right, sample this.
That turned out quite well, especially because the snare sound was one of them smacking their lips eating a watermelon. Yeah, they all think of me as the music guy.
Cool. So at school, you said they have practice rooms that have got pianos in.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself gravitating towards that during school time? Like you're in breaks and stuff, do you go and play piano?
Yeah, often. Often because it's just warm and there's no one there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I quite like playing the piano, and it lets me practice, which Battle of the Bands is this month, and I've barely practiced.
And what's the plan this month? Is it going to be, are you going to have your mates with you again?
No.
Is it going to be a solo act this
I'm
time?
a lone wolf, they drag me down. No. I just enjoy playing.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you very much for letting me interview you.
Yes.
And
You're welcome. It was good to be interviewed.
Brilliant.
Can we do an outro?
Yes, we can do an outro. What do you want to say?
Listen to my music. Goodbye.
I will make sure that there are links in the show description.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
And before we go, you can listen to the recording I made of ESP playing piano in Piccadilly train station. thank you to Anthony Thomas, who provided the theme music, and stay tuned to hear more fascinating stories from street musicians.